I invite you to sit. Wildflowers. Those of you who are practiced, sit bone yoga. Activate your root. Those of you who can. You are a channel. You are a channel. You are bringing light into the world. Imagine you are a part of a river. Is the flow coming in and is the flow going out? If it's coming in and going out, is it moving smoothly? Is it moving graciously? Is there anything stuck that impedes the flow? Are the banks strong or are they muddy? And is there seepage into the side? By grounding yourself, breathing with intention, and then tending to the tensions you feel, you become a stronger channel. Now, of course, this works every day. And when we unite our intentions and create together, it works more effectively. Key ring. Engage several breaths. Tune in each and return to the heart. I have been invited to embody an ongoing channel during these times. Deeper space of sacredness. It's like I am channeling and of the flow. So I enter a space where I'm more attuned to recognize when I'm out of tune. It's more pronounced. Now, the reason this is difficult is that when anyone carries a certain density of karma, it immediately inhibits the flow and you feel it. So to enter this kind of attunement, I have to be clear enough to allow for the greater intensity. And when it comes up against anything in my life that impedes it, if I agree to be this open, I have to accept pain as a consequence of the conflict, the dissonance between whatever karmic baggage is within me or within my community and family and the Gaian mind. This is a sacred time. What does that mean? What does it even mean? Say sacred, throw it around like a profound word, right? I notice people say spirit and soul interchangeably. They don't even seem to know what they mean when they say these words. Sacred. To be sacred is to embrace the good red way as a part of what you are. So it's like high frequency, red light integrated into what you are. And the reason this matters so much is that for extended periods of time, red energy was a boundary. You can understand this. It's dramatic and kind of interesting. Red energy was a boundary, and it was used somewhat like a fire to burn away that which was not acceptable. And it was a boundary between humanity and creatures. And it was a necessary boundary because there are many instincts and ways of being that are woven into different creature groups, different species, that are unacceptable in human form. And they need to remain unacceptable. Now, over time, some people learn to move through the red, and they'd integrate the red in a very negative way. So there's a reason red got associated with all sorts of negativities, hell as it is. But the simplicity of it is those ways have a place. You just have to incarnate as an animal if you want to stay there. So if you want to have lots and lots of mates, well, be a bull or be a stallion. You want the right to kill your neighbor? Be a coyote. See how that goes for you. You get to try out a lot of ways of being that we might call evil in human form because they're not acceptable in human form. But if you're so drawn by that magnetism, you can go there. You just have to go there. I don't recommend it. Now is a deeply sacred time. As we embrace the good red way, we are akin, we're with the many creatures of the earth. There are certain fundamental things we have in common. We are coming up against two of the most profound ones at the same time. This week, the end of the week, we're approaching a new moon and a winter solstice. Now, this is very simple, kind of funny in its simplicity, but get this. Animals all recognize these times. They all recognize these times. And to animals, they're not quite as specific as 7:32. They know that several days represent the new moon. They can't see the moon at night. They know. They get it. They feel the rhythm of these cycles. These rhythms have always been pulling us. We're pulled like the tides within. There are many pronounced layers of influence that the moon has upon our lives. And the winter solstice, the shortest day, do you think they notice? They notice. In the places and the ways, in the forms of being that we share with every aspect of Gaia, there is a much more profound energy. There's a unity consciousness to this. It's like we set aside all our other differences and agree. It's the darkest days right now. Oh, and we have an interstellar visitor. Now, today I'm going to explain several aspects of these. The most important is simple. Some is leaving and some is arriving. So we have energy leaving and we have energy arriving. That's it. As above, so below. When you're invited to recognize that there is a fundamental shift in the vibrational integrity and balance on the earth, there's a fundamental shift in everything about how you recognize reality. And it's subtle enough that many people won't necessarily recognize it in the moment, but you're probably picking up on the signs, right? Perhaps you're waking up more in the night. Perhaps there's more conflict energy around you. Perhaps you're feeling waves of intensity and strength and then inexplicable tiredness. Perhaps things are working really well in some cases, in some moments, and things aren't working quite at all in others. Perhaps you feel a liberation. You feel an absence. You feel an absence of a certain form of tension within you, a certain form of resistance to you being you. Depending on your relationship to your own karma and the collective karma, you'll be having a different experience right now. And our goal is to help you be in a position where you can navigate through these changes as effectively as possible. So this Friday, I'm going to be live on YouTube again. We're going to go into the intensity of channeling this energy because it's a fundamental transition. So it'll be a ceremony for the winter solstice and for the arrival and departure of new energies with our galactic visitor. Now, this has been named 3-Eye Atlas. Those who named it were, shall we say, they weren't necessarily consciously aware of what they were doing, but they weren't the ones naming it. So over the course of today, I'm going to explain this even more deeply than I did last week. And all of this is an effort to prepare you. On Friday, we'll be engaging in the ceremony, and I'd like you to join. I'd like you to invite people, whether consciously or subliminally, and I'd like you to be ready. So the goal will be for you to get your butt on the ground if you can. I'm encouraging you to do this for your sake. You will contribute to the collective experience if you contribute to the collective experience. But most importantly, it's about you. The intention here is to tune in so you can be with the change. If you're with the change, you can get on the other side of the transformation a lot more easily. So it's as simple as saying goodbye to what's leaving, saying hello, and welcoming what's arriving. You do this with intention, everything's different. Imagine someone new comes in the door and you're so bleak because someone you wanted to hang out with has gone that you can't even pay attention to the new person. You just resent them because they represent the change. Or imagine you say goodbye with intention to someone who's leaving. You breathe into the space of wonder, asking, I wonder what might happen. I wonder. Wonder is a wonderful word. Wonder suggests that you recognize that there is a oneness about our experience that you can or may not be with. To be with oneness is to accept what you can't change and to open to the gifts of the new, the gifts of the realignment. This is what we're doing. And today, in certain respects, is a preparation. It's our last chance to get ready. Now, this is a simple lesson I've mentioned, hinted at before, and I want to bring to you with some of the most profound grace, because there is a very fundamental set of changes going on. To appreciate what's happening, you first have to get beyond beginners level understanding. This is an advanced class on what's happening. And you may or may not be exposed to some of these ideas elsewhere. If you take time to be present with them, I suggest that you can actively make the connections to confirm what I'm saying in your own direct connection, your own direct Gaian attunement. So you may relate to that in many different ways, but a lot of forces are in tune with Gaia. A lot of forces are in tune with the Gaian mind. And I encourage you to begin to use this as a measure of trust and respect. If something's not in tune with the Gaian mind, you might want to question what it is and why you are giving it as much influence as you are. It's like putting on headphones in the middle of a concert and trying to listen to something else. You're in the middle of a Gaian dance, the Gaia dance. And if you're not going to follow the Gaia dance, if you're going to oppose the music that's present all around you, you might want to at least be conscious of what you're doing. So to be conscious of what you're doing is to recognize the changes, because the changes are one of the most fundamental moments, one of the most fundamental and pivotal opportunities to shift your influence. Think of it this way. If I'm in a concert and I'm trying to listen to something else, I actively develop coping mechanisms to tune out what I'm trying to avoid, even if it's all around me. Everybody does these in multiple different ways. So when you're inside of an influence, you could get used to that influence. Most of you probably have a refrigerator. Do you even notice when it goes on or off? Most of you live in houses with heaters. Do you notice when they go on or off? You get used to fundamental rhythms and changes around you, and you are capable of focusing your attention elsewhere. Now, this exaggerates the dynamic, and it still remains true. If you're surrounded by music you don't like, typically you'll shift your attention into other things, perhaps even other strata. So you'll de-emphasize audio and start to try to think about feeling or focus in your body or imagination. You'll put your active effort into a zone where you have more influence. But the most pivotal choice was right back at the beginning when you wrestled with whether you're going to embrace this music or reject it. And I'm suggesting that many of you have to wake up to realize that you are actively rejecting the Gaia dance. You may not intend to, you may not want to. Your ego may be aligned in such a way that you'd like to be someone who embraces it, but it's sort of a true or false situation. Are you tuning in to the Gaia dance? Or are you resisting it and attempting to focus elsewhere? It's a good question to keep with you. So the yes involves a recognition of the many levels of change. So I'm going to introduce you now to several of them. By putting your focus on any of these changes, you align yourself ultimately with an attuned presence in the Gaia dance. And as you do this, you put yourself in a position where you can more easily embrace the other themes. So it's almost like there are many paths up the mountain. You can focus here, you can focus here, you can focus here. What's most important for you to appreciate is that all these changes are occurring at the same time. And you don't have to remain conscious of all of them, but you need to kind of correlate and tune your relationship with each of them so you don't have resistance built in to how you understand. So, lesson one, and in many ways, this is the most important. Before you came to Earth, you had a way of being aware. You had perception. You had actually a range of perceptions. You have incarnated in a body, forgetting, as a baby, and you wake up, and believe it or not, when you first woke up and opened your eyes, you didn't really know how to see. There are apps online that can show you what the world looks like to a 2-month-old. It's very fuzzy. It takes time both to focus your eyes and to learn to understand what you're seeing. So you've got vision, sound, touch, taste, smell. You were waking up into this range of perceptions that are all specific to being on Earth. Your perceptions before you came to Earth were quite different. And one of the most fundamental aspects was your vision. Your vision happened in a very different way. To say it's vision is almost inappropriate, but it's necessary. It's the closest relationship you can have. You saw in all directions. You saw in all directions. Your eyes didn't focus like this. Now, the simple gift of focusing like this is that you can magnify your attention on one thing or another. So in the same way you can restrict your visual range down to this and read, but you're losing all this out here when you do that, right? So it's a different form of vision. So this is an exaggeration of that dynamic. We're incarnating in this way where our vision is focused, and as a result, we can magnify our attention in certain ways and in certain themes, which has a drastic range of influence in the long term. You don't know how important this is. It's really important. And you will, over the next decades, come to respect how important this is and what's possible. By being human in this way, what is possible? But we've also lost something. We've lost this ability to see in all directions. And there is a form of consciousness that comes with the recognition that you can see in all directions. Now I'm being drawn, I'm sinking into a deeper alignment with the Gaian mind. It changes my pace. I can feel the rhythm of energy in me. As I speak, I'm invoking power. Words are power. There's a spell. We are spelling. Words are spelled, but there's a spelling. When words were initially brought into being, there was a much deeper consciousness on a certain level of the magical power of framing language, framing words themselves. So we're putting together different elements of our own consciousness in a form that invokes reality. We're creating reality when we talk. I am agreeing to be in tune with the Gaian mind, which restricts how I can use this magical power. If I attempt to assert a theme or a rhythm that's out of tune with the Gaian mind, then I will feel the resistance. It will be opposed almost immediately. And so I am agreeing to incarnate into an acceptance of this. Now, we've recently been given channelings that help explain this all the more. If you're not careful, you could confuse this for a matrix of control. You could confuse this as a prison. It's not a prison. It's just a deal. It's like you can have all this new form of influence. You can have this incredible form of experience. You can have a body. You can have the ability to focus your attention very specifically and explicitly on certain themes. But you also have to accept Gaia saying, hey, that's too loud for my living room. Hey, stop walking in here dragging nasty smells and wet, damp presents. She's just simply setting a tone for her living room, and she's actually quite broad. Once you learn to see this appropriately, you'll be able to go, wow. What she basically has done is say, you got free reign. What are you going to do? And she's slowly restricting us more. And you can feel that restriction. But really, I invite you to see it from a perspective of she's just deciding to take a little more control over her living room. She's saying, hey, by the way, I don't want you to kill people. Hey, by the way, turn that music down. You're being too loud. I'm making a space for you over here to make that kind of music. And so you're going to continue to feel a deepening of her presence. And it's based in this resistance. And if you agree to accept vibrational presence, it's twofold. You're agreeing to accept the pain. You're agreeing to commit to tuning into it as tension. If you tune into it as tension, you'll change your pace. You might even change your attitude. as you slow down what you're thinking to be in rhythm with the harmonies you feel, you will be changed. And so you're agreeing to be changed. You're agreeing to accept her influence. You're almost agreeing to let her hold you by the back of the neck and move you a little bit. And what she's really doing is she's saying, oh, by the way, this is my body. I gave it to you. I'm gonna move it around a little bit more. And guess what? Most of you aren't moving around enough. So what she's actually doing is teaching you to be more free. And I'm inviting you to recognize that the fundamental pivot point for many people is she's going to make you suffer more when you're lethargic and when you don't use what you got. She's going to make you suffer more. She's going to make you tense, too stressed to focus on your conversation, too stressed to stay sitting watching something. And you're going to have to get up and do something. So in a couple minutes, we're going to do a yogic break. All right. I want you to take 2 minutes. We're going to build the heart rate. If you don't know what to do 8 to 13 push-ups on your knees. If you could do that, if you could do 13 easily, try 8 on your feet. If you could do that, try 21. If that doesn't suit you, do squats. 8 to 13 squats. Go as deep as you can comfortably go. Respect pain and explore the difference between strain and pain. They are not the same thing. Now, the goal is actually to build your heart rate. Everybody can aim for that. If you keep these goals going, you're going to build yourself over time to be much stronger. So it's a beautiful gift. And this is one of the gatekeeper lessons. This is the first thing that happens. You agree to let Gaia have more influence. She's going to amplify your recognition of presence. It's going to feel good a lot more. This is the flip side. You're going to feel a little bit euphoric. This is the dawning of the rapture. This is the entrance to a new way of being where you get to feel blissful much of the time. Much of the time. But the consequence of that is when you're out of alignment, it hurts more. A lot of you are actually on the flip side of this lesson. You're hurting much of the time. What you've done is you've been a strong student in the Gaian lore. You've accepted a lot of the right lessons, and you're stuck on accepting the blessings. So you've agreed to align yourself. You've agreed to attune yourself more with her presence. You've agreed to be humble. You've agreed to allow her guidance. But you haven't agreed to step into joy. You haven't agreed to align yourself in such a way that you're going to let her bring you to life. There's still a quiet rebel in you that feels like, oh, she's controlling me. And I'm urging you not to think that way. So one of the most fundamental things you can do is agree to a daily practice, typically in the morning, ideally pretty soon after you get up. 20 minutes, we've got them on the yoga channel. In January, I'm going to really make a big push with people for how to do this. And then throughout the rest of the day, every hour or two, you take another break. You do exactly what we're about to do. You choose something that builds your heart rate. So I'm gonna do something that I'm working on, do squats or push-ups or go deeper. And if you'd like more help, check out the website. We've got trained coaches who are ready to support you. Ready, set, go. Now you feel your heart. Breathe in your heart. At least 10 seconds, 3 good breaths. That's a low bar. You're preparing your vessel. You're tending your part of the river, the channel. You're creating yourself here in such a way that divine love shapes who you are. You're accepting a greater level of suffering when you're out of balance. You are accepting a greater level of suffering when you're out of balance, that you may get yourself back in balance before the problem gets worse. You're tuning in with your heart. And as you do, you're inviting your soul. You're inviting your soul to inhabit your heart. So in very many ways, let me explain one of the most fundamental gifts of this presence. And to understand what's going on, there's an interstellar object moving through. So an interstellar object means it came from outside the sun's gravity and is moving through, and it is going so fast that it's not fundamentally controlled by the sun. So its influence is extrastellar. It's outside from beyond our sun. So it's bringing vibrational presence that's from beyond what is normal to us. And in the process, it's igniting us to recognize our soul. Now, our soul is like a life. It's like a life that exists in relationship to soul, the name of our star. And our soul is a monad. It's a point with a circle. You've been spending your life, almost entirely all of you have been spending your life identifying the sun as a point. It's not a point. It's a point with a sphere around it. This is one of the most crucial threshold lessons that I went through. We are in the sun. What you identify as the sun needs to expand all the way out to this sphere that goes way beyond the Kuiper belt. For those of you who haven't been paying attention, human beings with telescopes and other machines have discovered all these planetoids. Lots and lots, dozens that are within range of the size of Pluto. Dozens, up to like 100 that are somewhat in that range. So they're big enough to be spheres, and they're way out there past Pluto. There is a sphere beyond that that's hot. So there's several humorous things about this. Every star in the universe is brighter than we thought. They're all brighter than we thought because, as best we know, they all probably have a shield like this, which stops some of the light from getting out. And it's hot. Way, 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 way out there, there's a sphere that's hot because photons bounce off of it. And we only know about this because Voyager just went through it like 6 or 7 years ago. You have within you a soul, as above, so below, and your presence extends as a sphere around this point. Now, here's what happens. When you accept a sphere around this point, and this is extra credit in the advanced class to appreciate this, but see if you can tune your awareness in to appreciate the depth of this. Your consciousness incarnates around different dimensions of reality and different densities within these dimensions. There are many ways to incarnate a consciousness. To incarnate means you join a game, you join a music, you join a gathering held by a certain being, often a planet, but not always. But even within planets, there are many ways to incarnate. And to incarnate is to accept a certain range of rules. It's almost this simple. When you think of yourself as a point, the problem with this is you can extrapolate a point onto many different scales of reference. So you can actually turn the galaxy into a point. You can turn a nebula into a point. You can turn a star into a point. You can turn a planet into a point. You can turn a body into a point. You can turn a speck of dust into a point. In many ways, you're too free when you identify as a point. This is extra credit in the advanced class. Some of you have had dreams. You've had dreams in which you're big approaching a planet. You're like almost as big as the planet, right? That's because this is possible. When you shift your scale of reference, it's one way to travel between different worlds. And when you do this, you're shifting your scale. So you approach the earth as bigger, and then you get smaller. And you accept incarnation into the planet. And so what's happening is, by being a point, you need to be surrounded by a sphere. Oh, look, that's what we did. We're in a sphere. We accepted to be smaller than Gaia. And then she said, how about I put you in a body? Oh, by the way, forget. You're going to play by my rules now. You're going to forget. So here, try these eyes. You get 2 of them. Try these ears. Try this nose. Try this body. Oh, by the way, just forget everything and learn from scratch. And you tune into her way, her incarnation. But we lost our own sphere. So now we don't know how to use our aura. Now we don't know how to adjust our influence. Now we're too open to the world around us. She's going to leave it that way. She's going to leave it that way until you struggle to learn. And as you learn to limit your influence, but assert your influence within the limitation you're given, you begin to get in touch with this memory of your soul. As above, so below. Just identifying with your aura around you, just to the extent of your fingertips, is analogous to identifying with your soul in the solar system. But to do this, you have to embrace a memory of crossing that initial threshold. And to embrace that memory is to get yourself at least a little bit open to a recognition that there's consciousness all over. Now you're dissolving the mainstream narrative. Now you're going pretty far from what a lot of people believe. It can be stressful. That's what we're going through right now. Right now, in part, catalyzed by 3i Atlas, we are being reawakened to our soul. Now, in many ways, it's more in alignment. It's a little bit correlation is not causation, but it's important to recognize that this is a critical transition in which we're being reintroduced to the 3i, the third eye, what we know of as the third eye, that is actually a bridge to the consciousness, the perception that we brought here. And when you bring back the consciousness, the perception you brought here, you are adding this awareness to what you already know to be real. So you might call it a sixth sense, but even that, even a third eye or a sixth sense are perceiving the perception in relation to the perceptions, the senses you were born into. But this predates it. This is what you brought here. It's being given back to you in the form of your soul. And as it settles, we have this built-in mechanism in the third eye to integrate these perceptions. Most people aren't using them. And when you wake up, when you just begin to wake up, you start to use it. Now, this has been happening for thousands of you. Thousands of us have been waking up a little early. Right now, we're getting a deep activation. So we're being brought to the next level, and a lot of other people are being tickled, woken up for the first time. And it stirs everything up, brings everything to the surface. So if you haven't done enough work, all the stuff you haven't addressed come into the surface. If you've done some work, whatever remains, surging to the surface even more, because a deep part of your soul wants this stuff out of the way. Your soul sees in all directions. Your soul is aware. Your soul is aware enough that you've got background processes going on here that your soul is just fully conscious of exactly the food in the house, exactly the intentions of your family members. Earlier today, I was setting up to do something. I was going to record a yoga practice before class, and I got a pause. And I stopped it. I picked up on the pause. I could feel the energy shift. I stopped it. My family needed me, and we went through several several good, several difficult, a little bit of a fight about a project going on the floor, but I could feel it. I could feel it. So I didn't get myself invested in the yoga practice because some deeper part of me was aware that that wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to fit. Your soul is trying to bring you into a presence where you are much more conscious of what's going on around you. And again, this is easy to misunderstand as imprisonment. To many of you, you will resist this. In fact, you already are resisting this profoundly because an expansion of awareness is too easy to conflate with an addition of control. Now you have all these other things to worry about. You don't get just to do what you want to do. You can't just start singing whenever you want to sing. You can't just go on a walk whenever you want to go on a walk. You can't just do whatever you want once you're more aware of the forces around you. And you have to do the work to shift yourself into a recognition that your potential expands greatly. Your potential expands exponentially. You become aware of dimensional possibilities that are going to bring you into a presence that far exceeds anything you could have dreamed before. So if you're busy resisting the fact that you don't get base level controls of like, I want to watch a movie now, or I want to work on this project now, you're going to miss the fact that you have lessons to learn that are going to make you increasingly telepathic. You're going to miss that you have lessons to learn that are going to bring you down 10 years in age. 10 years. Dropping 10 years in your understanding of what age is, one of the easiest miracles accessible to all of you. Dropping 10 years. 10 years, nothing. Our expectations of what age are fundamentally shape how we age. Fundamentally. Now, it's not quite as easy as saying, I'm going to believe I'm 30. There's a lot of work in there, but shifting gears so that you tune into a much deeper level of vitality is as simple as letting yourself feel fundamental stresses that you were ignoring and learning to prioritize them. So yes, I don't get to do what I want as much anymore. But last night, I did 13 toe to bars, 3 sets of 8 pistol squats. I still need a little support on my fingertips. I did a whole series of exercises 2 years ago I didn't think I'd ever be able to do. I didn't think I'd ever be able to do them. I did 12 pull-ups pretty easily. I could have kept going, but I'm in a downturn right now. I'm not pushing my edge. I feel amazing these days. And I didn't think I'd be able to do any of these things. And so much of it has to do with timing. Timing. You tune into the sensations. You agree to tune into sensation because Gaia lets you. Now look at these. What I'm suggesting is you are reclaiming your vision, a form of vision your soul sees in. By inviting your soul into your body, you're inviting this monad, this dot with a circle around it, one of the most ancient common symbols in ancient esoteric mystical study. The dot with a circle around it. You're inviting your soul into your body. You're also gaining this unique felt sense. It's unique. It's spiritual. So your soul is coming in one way and your spirit is coming up. And this spiritual vision is felt. So the spiritual is the presence that's directly in relationship to Earth. It'll never be the same when you go somewhere else. Now, there are analogies. It's not something to disregard. But there's this unique sense that gives you the ability to feel your alignment, your energetic alignment in the Gaian mind. On Friday, we are going to say some prayers to help you tune into this, to help you tune into your soul being more in your body, to help you tune into your spirit being more in your body. You've forgotten both. I stress to you, this is a forgetting. This is not an addition. This is a reclaiming. It's only an addition to the extent it was subtracted. Now, your soul is that which you brought to this planet. Your spirit is that which you brought to this life. You have to reclaim your memory of other lifetimes in order for this to work. So these are two entirely different orders of magnitude. To reclaim your soul is a fundamentally disparate awareness. Like it's almost unfathomable to a lot of people, but in certain ways, it's not complicated. Imagine yourself approaching the earth. You're starting to tune into your soul. There's a presence right now that I just like to say no to. It's threatening me because it doesn't want these doors opened, and it's not up to me. They're opening anyway, so stopping me wouldn't do much. You can leave. I would like your support, those who are grounded, those who are attuned. Just simply imagine a hostile presence bouncing away from us, going to where it needs to be to learn the lessons it needs to learn. Now, to be present with your spirit is a different, daunting threshold. Understand this. There's a part of you that's rooted here on earth. You are more like a tree in a certain respect than anything else in your spiritual presence. And your spiritual presence is essentially, by all measures you'd know to use, alive. It's alive between lifetimes. Your conscious presence and awareness are here with your spirit as you choose your lifetime, as you accept a timeline that you will follow in your life. And you do. And you can remember, you can tune into the familiarity of this awareness. Now, again, this is very daunting. And I'll suggest some of you, this might be too much for you. If you lash out at me, you misunderstand. You're only going to create more confusion. Just leave. To be aware of how daunting this is to transcend treating it as an esoteric, puzzle for a moment. Be a little humble, be a little afraid of how daunting this is. Because truth be told, 10 years ago, you could do this. You could entertain this as a hobby. Now you can't. Now these forces are just rippling, cracking through everybody. If you get with the change, you are tuning into the potential, the possibility, the joy, the rapture of this. If you resist the change, you're going to suffer longer, period. Yes, there's an in-between where you could work too hard and it could be more suffering than necessary if you try too hard to force yourself into the future. But I assure you, there are multiple levels of sort of a sweet spot where you get in the flow and you learn to trust and respect the work you got to do when you got to do it. That's enough. That's enough, she says. How are we doing here? People, thank you for being here. Thank you for your donation. Thank you for your donations. I'm grateful. Is that Sean? Sean works harder than most. Thank you so much. And donates more. I honor and appreciate your presence and the work you do, Sean, so much. To transmute some of the most difficult energies in life, to reframe, compost, and turn into new soil, the incredible spirit that you work with. Thank you for being you. Thank you for your likes. They're appreciated. It does make a difference. Over time, it makes an even bigger difference. It's an unusual thing being in this position and working with a lot of people. There's a real beauty in it. And the beauty of knowing that those who lurk a little, in all respect, those who lurk may come closer. And I have a degree of awareness of the people who do become more a part of what we're doing. Listen longer, finish the videos and think about them. Allow them to influence your life. I can feel this happening, but I have to feel it on a big picture, with a lot of people. And there is a big beauty in that. It's a really gorgeous experience to attract, to gather incredible beings like yourselves. and to watch it begin to influence your life more and more is such a blessing. Sarah and Sarah in particular have been working on an incredible video. A large number of people in the sanctuary, of the most committed members of our community, have offered testimonials, descriptions of what it's like to integrate this work into your lives. And we're going to be launching a video that shares this with you. For the solstice turning point of the year, we're initiating a new level of the community itself. So we're offering classes every day of the Monday through Friday work week. There are multiple ways in which you can participate more deeply. You get to be included in the lightning sessions that are following this time. So we gather live in the closed community, and the simple version is we help channel more light through you. When you channel more light through you, you have a certain range of concerns you need to address. What's going to dredge to the surface? Are you open to new light coming through? Are you open to letting it move through you on into the world? That correlates to many beautiful lessons of how to live a better life, how to enjoy the life you are living more, how to be present with the difficulties in a way that's far more conducive to healing and well-being, and on and on. So the lightning sessions following this are a time where we do that with each other in a focused way. There are many ways in which people are training in the Wildflower Fire system and offer sessions individually within the community. There's a lot of sharing that goes on about how progress is being made, how practices are being engaged, how you could ask fundamental, simple, straightforward questions about how do you engage this yoga pose. You could ask for guidance and insight on how and which practices to include in your life. You can share your own progress and what's worked for you in the past, and maybe offer it to others who might need that. There are so many ways in which this community is growing well, and we're going to make a new initiative to invite more people in. So please consider and look out for this invitation in the form of a video coming next week. Let me tune in, see if there's anything remaining. I thought I looked at the time. Oh yeah, 47. Well, by most measures, we got a little more time, so I'm just going to take a breath. But I have shared what I was invited to share. So the main work is done. Friday at 10. I'm pretty settled on that. We're going to be gathering live again. And this time I'm going to urge you to prepare. Again, I urge you to invite people, but most importantly, I urge you to be ready. Set aside the time. This is a critical transition. 3i Atlas is moving through. And it is in synchronicity. It's not an accident this is happening at a solstice and new moon time during one of the most critical transitions in the age. All of this is in alignment. There's a divine dance. And the more you pay attention to it, the more you can enjoy it. You're going to be that person talking during the concert about some stupid theme that you don't really need to be thinking about with a harsh energy because you're uncomfortable, that the vibrancy of the new world is taking you over. Are you going to be the one sticking your head in under a blanket in the corner because it's just all too overwhelming? Are you going to, try to find your way out because it's so frightening? Are you going to stare at the pain so thoroughly that nothing else seems real and you just want it to be over? Are you going to allow your fear of trust? Are you going to allow your fear of being seen to undermine your ability to participate in this new love? Please don't. Please don't. Those of you who understand what I've just expressed as something you've been through in the past, please appreciate one of the final lessons in leaving terrible times in your own life is to be supportive for those who are going through them. And it's not quite as simple as just loving them. Sometimes people need a degree of boundaries as well, because often people are suffering because they don't know how to draw boundaries. So to support someone who's suffering, you do need a yes and a no. You need to be present with exactly how much you can give. And I mean this for all of you in every direction. You need to consider that no matter where you are in your process, no matter where you are on the path, you have passed through terrain of consciousness that other people are following. So it is essential that you develop the ability to turn around, look at others, and offer support and restrain this support. Both are monsters, helping too much, helping too little. You help too little because you're afraid of your past, you're never going to leave your past. Get that? If you don't support other people who are suffering in the ways you've suffered, you're going to go back into the old cycle. You'll be the one suffering because you denied essentially yourself. When you respect that it is natural for you to come into contact with other people who are suffering in ways you have suffered, if you can offer them compassion and a restrained amount of support, I urge you to carry enough money for lunch in your wallet, particularly when it's cold, and give it to those who are in need. How often does someone really ask you for money? Be prepared to offer them enough for a meal. When you consciously and intentionally agree to give, and you say, this is how much I'm giving. You're not emptying your bank account. You're not spending all day, but you're being intentional about how much you're willing to give. Nothing changes the world more. And then over time, maybe you learn to give a little more. Once you trust you have boundaries, it's easier to give more. Once you trust that you are appreciated, that meal might change someone's life. I've been in difficult spots in my life. The people who were there for me, I was once in tears. I was in a tragedy, lost a vehicle. I was just like sitting bereft outside a cafe. And a man offered me a blanket. It was a gorgeous blanket his grandmother made him. He walked me to his car to get me that blanket. And I kept that blanket for years and years. Cherished it. And I was just so happy. It was the gift of the love that he shared with me that changed my life. I mean, it changed me so much in that moment. It reminded me of what love is. I was so scared, so lost, so tired. Knowing that other people will reach out to love you in those moments and agreeing not to take more. In all respect to myself at that time, I was not a more monster. I accepted what I was offered with gratitude. To play that role for someone else, it'll change your life. It'll change your life. I'm getting gift cards for our local food center. It's like a food co-op. I'm getting gift cards to that food co-op to give out to people. Consider what you can give at this time. Consider what you can give to those in need. There are a lot of people scared. There are a lot of people suffering. There are more people suffering than ever, but there have always been people suffering. And as a last and terrifying prayer, I tell you this. As you awaken, your spirit and your soul are coming into your body. We're going to be saying a prayer for this on the deepest level in an intense ritual on Friday at 10. When your spirit and soul come into your body, you have to see the pain in the world. In the same way you have to agree to feel the suffering in yourself, in the same way you have to agree to feel the stress and tension that demonstrate to you that you're out of alignment, you have to agree to witness those things in the world. You can't just stay on the sunny side of life. And in the United States, there is a terrifying presence right now, brutalizing people because of the color of their skin. Make no mistake, there's nothing complicated about the racism involved in locking people up without due process, who are seeking asylum in this country, just like every single other person who was not born here. Almost everybody in this region, the United States that I live in, stems from relatives who were not born here. They came here to get away almost entirely of either terrible situations or situations where they were not hopeful enough. They had some reason to leave where they were and come here. Usually takes a lot to make someone do that. So now that the color of the dominant skin trying to come here has changed, a lot of assholes want to shut the door. It's basically that simple. Now, there are terrifying new drugs coming into the world. There are terrifying levels of intensity to some of the gangs. Of course, we need to address that. But that's a bullshit excuse in almost every case. So here's the prayer. You ready? You want to wake up? You got to pray for things like this. 911 calls from incarceration centers of immigrants are through the roof. They're calling local 911 because they're beating the shit out of people that they've arrested. How many are they killing? There is no fundamental distinction between what's happening here and what Nazis did. They just kept ratcheting it up. The only way to stop something like this from getting ratcheted up is to stop it. You talk about it. You pray about it. You ask Gaia herself if you are being asked to do anything. The base level is to not entertain any false understanding. This is fundamentally evil. This is people who are suffering, trying to hurt someone else so they can avoid their suffering. That's what it is. And it's a direct byproduct of a time when Gaia gave us too much freedom. And she gave us too much freedom because plenty of you are still scared of her. You're still scared of the control that you have to accept to feel. Feeling itself can masquerade as the matrix. You're entering a deeper web of life, and you're being invited deeper into something that may already feel too controlling to you. She created the freedom that we live in right now, and part of that freedom is that people have had the freedom to act like complete assholes. Brutal, essentially evil. Now, I disregard what most people call evil because you don't take the time to look at what it really is. It's people who are suffering who have made the decision to hurt others. That's what all of these arrests are. You call this politics? I call this fundamental spiritual morality. It has nothing to do with politics. You act to protect other people. You act in your heart. You refuse to restrict your heart. You refuse to not care. And then you tie it up with a simple bow. You say, Gaia, if you want more from me, please make it obvious. That's it. You would be shocked by how influential it is to simply let the life force flow through you with honesty. When you open yourself to that prayer, yeah, maybe you'll be asked to do something scary. Maybe you won't. It is shocking how little is asked of us sometimes. There are a lot of ways in which the world is out of balance. You would be surprised what Gaia really wants you to do. There are a lot of ways in which the world is really out of balance. You are not being asked to fix all of them yourself. In fact, it is humbling to the point of tears on the ground, humbling how often Gaia will say, actually, I want you to rest and have a good meal. Actually, I want you to share some sacred time with those you love. It is shocking how often that is what she's actually wanting for you. So don't go off on a head trip. Pray. And on Friday, we're going to learn to pray more deeply with each other. Please join us.